Good morning and welcome to today's lecture, first lecture this morning. The lecture this morning is based on step number 8. I've decided to skip step discussion on step number 7, a discussion on the interviewing and interrogation of suspects. And hereafter, I have completed discussing step number 8, forensic external independent confirmations. And I'm planning to make the discussion on the interviewing and the interrogation of suspects an interactive session where all the participants will be able to participate actively online. I will set the time and then announce on all social media groups, including Facebook and LinkedIn, so that whoever is interested can attend and participate in the interactive discussion on the interviewing of suspects. As I said from the beginning, this series of lectures are aimed at facilitating the forensic investigation masterclass students to complete their training within 3 months, because effective April 1st, any person or any student who does not complete the masterclass course within 3 months will be penalized heavily, because there is no need of getting enrolled and then one drags his feet or does not take the training serious. So effective 1st of April, any masterclass student who has not completed his course or her course will be required to pay a penalty of $235, and that will be very expensive for the student. So to avoid that penalty is to attend to these presentations, pay keen attention to the notes provided, already provided to the masterclass students, and then respond to tests within the timelines so that the course is completed within 3 months. External forensic independent confirmations. This is a very important step in the forensic investigation process. And in financial forensics, that is forensic auditing, the investigation of money laundering, investigation of fraud and corruption, any investigation of financial nature will end up with the external independent confirmations. Independent confirmations here means that we have to seek information from outside the organization, from institutions outside the organization, from people outside the organization, to so that we confirm the figures, the information we have already received. And in fact, forensic independent external confirmations may involve the gathering of intelligence so that we complete the story on the figures we have, all the information we have. you can, if you are an auditor, you will remember discussing about audit confirmations, external confirmations. What is the difference between the audit external confirmations and the forensic confirmations? Number one, the mindset of the investigator in carrying out forensic independent external confirmations is to collect independent evidence that corroborates other evidences already analyzed. Under audit confirmations, the mindset of an auditor is to confirm assertions or variances in the financial statements by getting audit evidence from independent sources. Number two, the forensic independent evidence is for presentation to a court of law. The audit evidence is to support the opinion of the auditor. Number three, the focus of the forensic investigator in carrying out independent forensic investigations is on figures as well as non-figure information, like in the investigation of credentials fraud. The focus is purely or to a great extent based on financial statement balances. Number four, involves independent interviews with the external parties to extract evidence. A good example of this is the interviewing of former staff who is or who are in the process, who in the process reveals hidden bank accounts. Does not involve any kind of interviewing. That is under audit confirmations. Number five, independent forensic external confirmations involves undercover investigation techniques. Does not involve any undercover operations. Audit confirmations that do not involve any undercover operations. Number six, it involves tracing and surveillance, especially when trying to uncover hidden assets. Does not involve any kind of tracing and surveillance. Number seven, sorry. Sorry for that. I had left my phone on. Number seven, it involves social media, announcements, press releases, analysis. Does not go far. Does not go that far. When an auditor is carrying out independent external confirmations, he does not get involved in analyzing intelligence outside the confirmation of financial balances and records. But when you are carrying out forensic independent external confirmations, you might go as far as analyzing social media announcements and the price releases so that you gather the intelligence from there and analyze them to unearth hidden assets or liabilities. This list is not exhaustive, but gives a glimpse of what forensic investigation entails as opposed to conventional auditing as far as independent confirmations are concerned. Evidence provided by external parties is more reliable than the information given by the client staff. This makes the CFIP, the forensic investigation, certified forensic investigation professional, to dig deep and outside and to gather evidence that would either support or dispel the allegations being investigated. Sources of external or independent evidence. The following are the sources, external sources of external evidence for purpose of forensic investigation. Number one, banks. The independent secularization of bank balances provides the following essential information. A. Bank balances at a glance and at a given date. B. When information on balances is accompanied by bank statements, discovery of hidden bank accounts is possible. C. Confirmation whether or not the wrongdoing under investigation involved actual withdrawings of cash from the bank statements. D. Confirmation as to the signatories of the bank accounts. E. Loans for investments that are not reflected in the financial statements. F. Standing orders for settlement of liabilities that are not reflected on the financial statements. Number two, suppliers. The information the investigator can gather from suppliers using independent forensic confirmations are as follows. A. Disputed balances. B. Confirmation or otherwise of the balances in the financial statements. C. Cut-off manipulation. D. Omission of liabilities for goods and services supplied to the investigative organization. E. Fraudulent overpayments to suppliers with an aim of claiming refund and they channel it to the wrong doer's bank account. Number three, customers. The information the investigator can get from the independent forensic confirmations when using customers are as follows. A. Disputed balances and hence over or under valuation of debtors. B. Confirmation or otherwise of the balances in the financial statements. C. Cut-off manipulation. D. Omission of debtors for goods and services supplied by the investigative organization. E. Teaming and rating schemes. I will take some time to explain the teaming and rating scheme. This is a bookkeeping fraud that is known as short banking, delayed accounting, and wrapping. It involves the allocation of one customer's payment to another customer's account to make the books balance, often to hide shortfall or theft. Teaming and rating is a method by which a person who takes or handles payments uses the money personally for some days and posts the transaction later. The handler receives cash and uses it for personal purposes instead of depositing it. A common practice trait in this fraudulent activity is that the amount received from the subsequent debtor is credited to the earlier debtor's account so that one debtor's account does not show an outstanding balance for a long time. To make up the shortfall, when another payment comes in, the handler will deposit that money against the first money used and does not show the new amount received until later. Such a process is continued until the time the original amount misappropriated is finally replaced or until the cashier is caught. Another similar strategy is applied when remittances are received by means of checks, where checks are split up to record payments. This is known as splitting checks, By encashing the checks, less amount is credited to the debtor, and the rest of the amount is misappropriated. Number 4, former staff. Former staff can give the following information or evidence. A, hidden assets. They can assist the investigation team to uncover hidden assets. B, hidden documents and fraudulent channels passed to cook or roasted financial statements. C, hidden forged checks. D, hidden bank accounts. E, collusion of 2 or more staff in the wrongdoing in being investigated. Collusion of 2 or more staff in the wrongdoing in being investigated. Former staff can give very good information and freely because they have nothing to lose. They can reveal all the secrets of the organization. They can give the information that will lead to the discovery of more information because you have nothing to lose. And if they felt that they were unfairly dismissed from the organization, then they will have the incentive to give you all the information about the wrongdoing in short of spirit of revenge. So you get the information, and they can even frontier to testify in a court of law. Former staff, during investigation, former staff are usually forgotten or ignored unless they are mentioned as suspects or witnesses. But the investigation team will do itself good service by trying to get information from the staff, the former staff, especially those who worked in the crime scene, the department under investigation. Number 5, universities and colleges. What information can the investigation team receive from universities and colleges? The following information can be received, and this is very, very critical during the investigation of recruitment fraud or forgery during recruitment. A, this is used to unearth or rather confirm educational and professional credentials fraud. B, confirmation of actual attendance on enrollments with listed institutions. When the applicants for certain jobs send in their CVs, if you go through, you will see a list of the institutions they attended and the dates and the years of graduation. The independent forensic confirmations will be able to prove whether the institutions listed on the CV are actual and real institutions, or they are just fake and fictitious institutions. C, confirming state of memberships, whether suspended, deregistered, or in good standing. This is to do with professional memberships. The investigation can reveal whether the person is suspended, deregistered, or in good standing with the professional organization. D, confirmation of completions and graduation dates. E, confirmation of programs or resources undertaken. It will be noted here that when you are carrying out forensic independent confirmations concerning educational credentials or education credentials, you must be very careful. Uh, the practice of writing to universities and colleges to ask them to write back and confirm whether the applicants attended their institutions and graduated on the dates indicated is outdated and cannot give any produce any evidence, because if you write to the institution and the contact person you are writing to is a relative or a spouse or a friend, a close friend of the applicant, then the person is going to confirm the information, you will not be able to know whether the dates for graduation are fake, the certificates are fake or not. So what you must do is to find out yourself using intelligence. Never write to institutions that will not give you any information, because the applicant might have gone ahead to the institutions to pripe around to compromise the people you are want to write to, so that they confirm exactly what is in their CVs. But if you use intelligence, you use undercover investigation, external confirmation procedures, you can be able to uh, get the evidence. Uh, you you would not that the people are usually mean, very mean with money or food or anything, but the word is freely given. So if you can just send your undercover investigator to the institutions, and then he or she talks well with the people there, the students, the former students, you can be able to get the proper information, to confirm the dates and the institutions attended by the applicants. Number 6, former employers. When you are investigating credentials fraud, you will also use for your interview or securitize independently and forensically securitize the former employers listed, so that you confirm the positions held as indicated in the CV. B, reasons for leaving. uh, C, dates of appointment and leaving. D, he or she, the person he or she last reported to. All these will be traced to the CV filed with the applicant to confirm the applicant's integrity. Application of the independent confirmations evidence gathering technique. The certified forensic investigation professional, CFIP, must first consider whether or not external confirmations evidence is most likely to be significantly influenced or on the whether it will overall and significantly influence the overall decision to prosecute or not. As always, however, independent confirmation evidence is meant to fill the gaps in the already corrected evidence from other sources, and therefore it will be found very necessary to the overall investigation decision. It always plays an integral role on financial statements fraud and the credentials forgery investigation. The role of management. In a case of financial statements fraud investigation, management should not be informed of the intended independent confirmation since they can play a counterproductive role. You never know. There could be potential suspects in management that can quickly design ways of influencing the outcome of the independent external confirmations. When it comes to contentious inquiry, management is usually the client and therefore could know of the intended circularization but never disclose your techniques in details. Even the recruitment team should not get to know your investigation plan for getting independent evidence on educational and professional certificates presented. The process of independent confirmations. Number one, start by identification of the institutions or companies or individuals to be circularized or fisted. The institutions, companies, and individuals identified should be listed down, and then the decision is taken on the approach to be used in the circularization. Number two, drafting the circularization letters or planning the feasts. Circularizations are the easiest to do, but may not yield good results since some target institutions, companies, and individuals might decide not to respond. The best technique is making personal feasts undercover or openly and then request for the information. The request could be accompanied by court orders. Getting information from banks, for instance, must involve court orders or subpoenas. Some institutions can, despite all of this, refuse to provide information sought, but the CFIP has a right to go back to court for contempt proceedings. Number three, stage number three, sending out circulars or making independent feasts to the target institutions or companies or individuals. The actual sending out of circulars must be as per the list identified and the targets requested to write directly to the sender. To achieve this, the investigators should enclose self-stamped envelopes for responses. Number four, receiving responses. Responses have to be received and registered by a designated uh, individual member of the investigation team, or he or she has to register positive and negative responses separately for ease of analysis. The point of receiving responses, at the point of receiving the responses, the no responses must also be identified and recorded. Number five, analyzing responses received. The analysis shall involve linking the confirmational evidence to the gaps in the list of evidence gathered from other sources. Number six, making follow-ups on responses not received. There must be follow-ups to know why the responses were not received and if necessary, use some other means to get the information that was requested for. Number seven, evaluating the responses received for evidential value. All responses that are received must be evaluated for their evidential value. If the responses do not really contribute much to the completeness of evidence collected, that should be ignored. In evaluating the responses, the following should be considered. A. Reliability. The reliability of forensic investigation evidence provided by confirmation is affected by the respondent's competence, independence, authority to respond, knowledge of the matter being confirmed, and objectivity. Authenticity. The investigation team should insist on seeing original document as much as is possible, since evidence appeared by originals may be more reliable or authentic than the one that is available by photocopies and facsimiles. C. Background of the person from whom the external evidence is obtained. Advantages of external confirmations. Carrying out external confirmation tests can provide very good evidence of the offense. Number two, omitted or understanding liabilities can be revealed or discovered. Number three, omitted or understated assets like bank balances, accounts receivables can be uncovered. Number four, tracing misappropriated funds to the suspects' bank accounts. Number five, omitted long-term investments that are financed by loans that are also omitted. Number six, forensic independent confirmations evidence is more reliable than other types of evidence except documentary evidence. Number seven, investigation evidence obtained directly by the investigator is more reliable than evidence obtained indirectly or by inference. How to investigate educational professional credentials. Before I discuss the investigation procedures of educational and professional credentials fraud, it is good to briefly outline the common types of non-official or illegitimate documents. Forged or altered documents. Official or legitimate documents that have been altered in some way, usually by omissions, additions, or charges. Number two, fabricated documents. Documents fabricated to represent official documents from real or non-existent institutions, including use of letterheads. Inside jobs. These are special cases because the documents are actually produced by institutional employees, usually for a fee. Inside jobs are very impossible to detect upon initial review. Number four, creative translations. Translations of foreign language documents that are not just inaccurate but systematically misleading, tantamount to fabrication. Number five, degree or diploma mill products. The products of degree diploma mills are not in themselves fabrications, but in the academic study they purport to represent certainly is. The above list is not exhaustive. It much depends on the creativity of the fraudster. The forensic investigation in this area should follow the following steps. Number one, analysis of the certificates to identify the institutions that are purported issuers of the same, noting the dates when they were issued. Number two, merging the information above with the CV or resume that was attached to the application for employment or admission, as the case may be. Number three, personally visiting the issuing institutions. In a conclusion, I will say that external or independent confirmation is a complex area of evidence gathering since it requires other techniques that go beyond the numbers. In conclusion, the external or independent confirmations must be done from outside of the firm or institution where the investigation is taking place. This kind of evidence is applicable to financial statement and educational and professional credentials fraud. I've come to the end of this lecture, and I can see some people are participating on the live online. I will give a minute or two for a comment or a question before I hang up until 7 p.m. in the evening, when I will deliver another presentation in this series. Any comment or a question before I hang up? I can say that there are no questions, comments. Therefore, I hang up until almost 12 hours from now, when I will come online with another lecture. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.